in your mind, for you and for I. I'm trying to decide from the look in your eyes, yeah. I mean besides, but your feelings inside you, I'm messing up my mind and my
Boom,
spirit.
bam, boom. We're back. Episode number 41, Inside the RV podcast. Shout out to everybody for tuning in. You're listening to Inside the RV. This is a podcast about entrepreneurship, work ethic, self-development, and becoming the best version of yourself. We appreciate all the insiders who've been rocking with us. You're joined by your two lovely hosts. I'm one of them. My name is Jacob Moore.
I'm the other one, Ryan Ramirez.
Jacob Moore and Ryan Ramirez, baby. We are an artist and artist manager duo trying to come up and be successful in the music industry. We're telling you about it in real time through this podcast. And here's something that I'm real passionate about that I gotta tell you guys. Do not let anyone take advantage of you. You need to stand your ground. When you're talking to someone about something, you can't be afraid to disagree with people.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something I see all the time, Ryan, like even amongst, and I do it sometimes, like, of course you have to be socially aware. Like, are you going to have an argument about something in a particular place? Like, do you want to make a scene, whatever, but you know, you can still defend, you can still defend yourself and stand your ground while being polite and being aware of the situation that you're in. But I feel like I've just seen a lot of people, especially like our age, as you're coming into adulthood, who are like afraid to disagree with people and are afraid to stand their ground when someone challenges what they think. And there is a thing that exists called healthy conflict, right? Conflict is a very crucial part of having a good team. If your team doesn't have conflict and you guys don't disagree on things, that means people aren't thinking.
Yeah.
That means you have a bunch of yes men around you and no one really gives a fuck about, you know, the outcome. And so I think that's the ultimate way to lead your team to failure, your friendships, whatever, and to just have a bad relationship with people, because it's like, number one, you're not being, as we said in the last episode, you're not being authentic, you're not being yourself, and you are avoiding confrontation and conflict so that you don't have to deal with what comes out of that. Oh, did I just ruin this relationship with this person because we disagreed with on something?
Yeah.
Oh, did I just offend them because whatever? It's like, no, the bottom line is that if you want to have a productive, open-minded discussion where new ideas are expressed and you come to a solution or a middle ground, you have to be willing to disagree with people and engage in healthy conflict in a conversation. And part of that is standing your ground. You know, I hate to see people who are like, oh, I like this, and the other person's like, I hate that. And you're like, yeah, it's not that good anyways. Yeah, I've heard, you know, I like it, but it's not. That's some pussy shit, dude.
Yeah.
You know, to put it, you know, in a less eloquent way, that's some pussy shit. But aside from, you know, saying it like that, it's just one of those things where that's not necessarily like the mature thing to do. And in most situations, it's not the right thing for the situation. And I'm talking about this more of in a like a team sense, because like I've been a yes man before, where like, you know, and when we started working with Styx, like I was like really afraid to disagree with him, because I was like, Styx has all this experience and this and that, and I don't really know the guy, and I want him to feel welcomed and blah 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 blah. And you know, now like we're obviously fucking tight with Styx, so like if I disagree, I'll be like, no, whatever, this and that. But it's like I was so afraid of like the confrontation, and I didn't have the confidence to like disagree. Styx is probably listening to this like laughing, you know, because it's so funny to think, because him and I are like so close and so cool now. But yeah, that was something that I really regretted, like when we first started expanding beyond our team and stuff like that. And I think that, you know, not standing your ground kind of stems from like, you want to be well liked. But you know, I forgot who said it. I forgot who said it, but there's some quote floating around that's like, leaders aren't liked. They're respected, you know, and that's kind of the position that you have to come from, because it's like in business, in life, whatever, on your entrepreneurial venture, in your creative project, you're trying to produce the most optimal outcome possible with the finite resources you have. You have limited time, you have limited money, you have limited team members, you have limited office space, you have limited electricity to power your, you know, whatever.
Yeah, the tough thing about it, I want to play like devil's advocate in a way, because I feel like some people, you know, feel certain ways, and we're trying to get better at that too, especially me.
Okay.
I feel like when it comes to the team, it's where it gets tough is like you want there to be synergy. And sometimes you think like, okay, like if there's so much conflict, like is it the right team? So it's tough to like, you know what I'm saying? That's one thing. And the other thing is like, what were you talking about earlier? Oh, the other thing is like sometimes when someone has more experience, it's tough to have your own argument when that's the leading factor and that person has success.
Yeah.
That's where it gets very tough because it's like you kind of have to trust that the experience matters, and that's where it's like your argument can be taken like out of context in a way.
Let me touch on those 2 points. Okay, what was the first one again?
You want synergy in the team, and you want to make sure is it the right people if you're conflicting so much.
Okay. You'll never know if it's the right team if you're not willing to engage in conflict. Right?
Yeah.
So how are you supposed to know if you can have healthy conflict with them if you're not even willing to engage in it at all?
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, oh, okay, there, hey, I trust them, blah, blah, blah. So that's number one. Number two, with experience, you're totally right. But if someone has a lot of experience and you know that and you trust that, then anything you say, they should be able to pick apart and tell you why it's wrong. If someone really, and that's like what Styx did a lot, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I would be like afraid to be like to say my differing opinion or whatever, and then I would be like, you know what, he has all this experience, whatever. But I realized when I go up to Styx and I say, hey, I disagree with this, he picks it apart and tells me why it's wrong. And not every time, you know what I mean? Like, and that's part of the cool thing about when you express your opinion too. Sometimes people go, oh, hey, actually, Jacob, you made a good point. Even though I have all this experience, you made a great point, Jacob, XYZ, whatever. But if someone truly has a lot of experience, then they should have no problem listening to another person who has a different opinion, and they should have no problem telling you why it's wrong. You know, so that's my thing is like, yes, you know, if this person has 20 years in the game, this and that, whatever, they should be used to having to substantiate and defend their argument and tell people why they're right. Because you don't become a leader and you don't get years and years and years of experience if you can't, express the way you're thinking in a way that makes sense for everybody, and you can't explain why it's right.
Yeah.
That's the things I wanted to touch on with your 2 points.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think it's a never-ending journey of learning, and I think every circumstance is different, every situation is different, people are different, so it's a never-ending like learning experience with different business partners and different team members, and people work differently and stuff. So it's always I feel like it's always tough to stand your ground sometimes, and you kind of have to like force yourself in a way to do it. So that's interesting.
See, and you have to put. So the reason that I have been able to engage in healthy conflict and be a part of a lot of teams is because I went to college, right? So when I got my entrepreneurship degree for a year and a half or 2 years or whatever, I was working on tons of different student teams. And the first one, when I'm like a sophomore in college, I'm like working on this student team or whatever. Someone says something I disagree with, and I go, "Oh, well, maybe you're right. Oh, whatever, this and that." And then it turns out I was right. Or the opposite way around. I said something and they were afraid to express their opinion. I went up and gave the presentation and I fucked us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I had all these different scenarios where I had opportunities to engage in conflict with people, whatever. And then I got to the point like my last year of college where everybody was like-minded. Everybody was like, yo, it's our last year of college. We're all trying to get a good grade and get the fuck out of here, whatever. So then it was kind of like I learned that what we were conflicting about, what we were discussing, what my views were, it's bigger than myself. It's for the greater good of the whole group. You know what I'm saying? So if you're afraid to disagree with somebody because you're like, oh, I don't want to come off as that coworker. Oh, I don't want to come off as this guy on the team, whatever. You got to realize that you're doing the team a disservice because the goal that you're trying to achieve takes that open-mindedness of each person and it takes those different viewpoints to try to formulate the optimal solution. So it's bigger than you. It's bigger than you, Ryan. It's bigger than me. Even stuff for like your career. Like it's your artist career, but you got other guys on your team. Like even for me as the manager, it's like, what can I do for the greater good of everybody. So that's what I learned. Like, when you put the reason that you're conflicting past yourself, this conflict is bigger than me. You know what I'm saying? It kind of puts your ego away, and it's like, oh, okay. Hey, maybe these people won't hate me after I disagree with them, because they'll hopefully you have a good enough team to where they realize, oh, okay, Jacob's saying, you know, this, and that. I'm not taking it personally. It's for the greater good. He's trying to find the best solution. So that's how I frame it.
And maybe saying something in that situation, you know, the other person ended up saying like, now we're going to roll this way. But that may have planted a seed for them in the future to be like, you know what?
Exactly.
He was onto something with that. Or like, maybe, you know, he was right and like we should listen to that. Because I've experienced that before too. Yeah. Where I think like I was kind of standing my ground in certain situations. But in the moment, it was like kind of got shot down. But then later, the other person was like, you know what? Like I thought about it and I think you were kind of right in certain ways. So that's another thing too.
Nobody wants a team of yes men.
Yeah.
Like the whole point of building a team is so it's horizontal.
Yeah.
You're like, yes, there's going to be a hierarchy in terms of like who has decision-making power, but at the end of the day, like it's left and right, front and back. Like you're looking all around you, you have this team. No one's better than anyone else. Maybe someone has more decision-making power by their position, but at the end of the day, why the fuck would I hire someone to do something if I didn't think that it was going to improve the overall value, effectiveness, efficiency, whatever of the team? That's the whole fucking point. So when you join a team, you got to understand that you're there to add value to the team. Even if that means disagreeing with someone, even if that means being the awkward person, because dude, like, oh man, like my last year of college, my last year of college, right? I had this group and we had a client and he was trying to start. So for my degree, I've probably told you this, but this is for the listeners. So for my entrepreneurship degree, every semester I had it for 2 to 3 different classes. Every semester I had a group. So per semester I'd have like 2, 3, or 4 different groups. I think it was like 2 to 3 at the most, maybe 2. And we would have a different real business owner, business idea, actual functioning business, whatever. And the majority of them were startups, and we were trying to like help them achieve whatever the next level of success was, whatever. So we had a guy come in who had an idea, or he had a business that was already existing, but he wanted to scale it to this next level, whatever. So we did like a competitive analysis, and you know, the market wasn't huge. There weren't a ton of competitors, whatever. And we came up with these objectives that we wanted to achieve. So it was just like we were student consultants, you know. And this is what changed the game for me, being on a team and speaking my fucking mind. We were failing. We were doing fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And I remember I said, okay, Jacob, this is where you grab life by the balls. You don't give a fuck what your team members say, and you kill it. Like, that's why you're on this team. And I took charge probably 2 weeks before it was due. I said, okay, guys, we are absolutely fucking this up. Not in the good way. This is bad. Not Michael Jackson bad, baby. This is fucking shitty. Yeah. And I sat down with the team. I said, okay, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. This, and I wasn't afraid. Oh, am I coming off as a dick? Whatever. No, bro. It provoked the most productive discussion we'd had all fucking semester. And then the day of the presentation, we're all sitting there shaking in our boots. I'm sweating through my fucking traditional Navy suit. And we're oh my God, it's gonna come this and that. And I fucking grabbed one of the homies. I forget what his name was. He was like standing like in this closet in one of the like rooms or whatever, like practicing his thing. He was like, fuck, Jacob, come here. He's like, dude, I'm fucking freaking out, bro. Oh my God, whatever. And I fucking put my hands on his shoulders. I went, listen, Ryan, we have a fucking duty, right? No, is that? Yeah.
It wasn't me.
You're like, that was me? No, I'm just saying. I like grabbed him by the shoulders and said, okay, we have a job to do. Blah, 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 blah. And I explained exactly what he was going to do. I said, do you disagree with me? He said, no. I said, okay, point number 2, blah, blah, blah. And I went, do you disagree with me? He said, yes, I do. I said, okay, well, why? Blah, 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 blah. And we fucking got into it. And I did that with every single team member, and we all collaborated. It was all synergistic, whatever. We like loved each other one minute, hated each other the next. We were saying all these crazy things, and then we gave the presentation, and he was like, hey, good job, guys. That was really good. I just have some questions. And then we answered all his questions and we killed it. And it's like, if I never took that step for the group, and I never was like, fuck it, this is for the greater good of the group. I have to stand my ground and prove why I think I'm right. They have to do the same. If that never happened, we probably would have fucked that presentation up
wow.
really bad. But that sparked this crazy synergy on the team, and we ended up doing really, really well.
Wow,
and that's why I'm so passionate about, like, I've told you personally, like outside of the podcast, other business friends that I work with and stuff, like, I'm very, very honest and obviously cordial and polite and respectful, but it's like you can't be afraid to disagree with people, dude. You're trying to produce the greatest outcome for the greater good of the group. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
It's for the greater good of the group. That's my story.
That's super dope. That's super, super dope.
Yeah, bro.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think the same thing applies to relationships too, like romantic relationships. Because I feel like, so like for a long time for me, I was always thinking like, okay, this has got to run super smooth, and if it doesn't, then it's not the right relationship. But I think that's bullshit. Like, I think there's a fine line. Like you got to decipher like if it is the right relationship, but there's never a smooth relationship. You know what I mean? And so it's not like I wouldn't stand my ground, because in relationships, like I don't put up with shit, but it's but I would cut it off though. Like if I felt like, oh, we're kind of like conflicting a little bit, even just a little bit, I was like, it's probably not right. Like it's going to be like, it's going to be way better than this. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think the same thing applies to romantic relationships as well.
Wow.
So that's something I learned recently too.
That's so funny. I was like that too, where like if I was talking to a girl or something like that and we had any sort of conflict, I was like, oh, red flag.
Yep.
Red flag. But it's like, dude, like now I've come to realize I think the point of a relationship is so that you can help each other just continue to level up in life.
Wow.
Like you're trying to find your partner who's going to help you get to the next level. Now, I don't think you need to be, excuse me, the Modelo got us.
Yeah.
Got me burping. I don't really drink beer that much anymore.
Yeah.
Usually seltzers, so these got me. Cerveza got me burping. But yeah, I realized that like the point of a relationship is so that you can help each other level up, but you can't be 100% reliant on them for that. Like some people get into relationships and they are so unbelievably reliant on their partner for everything. It's like, damn, you have no independence now. Like you can't even serve yourself.
Yeah.
That's kind of unrelated, whatever. That's just one of my thoughts. But so I used to think like, oh, if I'm conflicting with someone, it's a red flag, whatever. But it's like, no, like that's the whole point, is so that you have your partner in life who you can conflict with and you can cry to and love and hate and fear and be attracted to and all this crazy stuff in hopes of, you know, for the greater good of the team, you both just becoming better people for each other and for the world.
Wow.
So I ain't trying to be Dr. Phil here or
That's
anything
deep.
crazy like that.
That's deep. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I was like in that boat for a long time too. And it's funny, I actually had a friend who I just met up with a couple days ago. And she was like, yeah, I'm in this relationship and like it's tough, you know, like I thought everything's supposed to be perfect, whatever. And I was like, no. Like, welcome to life. That's and now the question is that person worth the conflict and worth the headbutting and all that shit? Whether it's a yes or no is up to, you know, whoever's evaluating it. But that's kind of the ultimate question. So yes, you're absolutely right. Relationships, business, anything. There's always going to be conflict. And I guess the premise of this episode was like, stand your ground, whatever. And that still goes.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't matter. You got to get past that. Like, oh, it's my partner. Oh, it's my teacher. Oh, it's my business partner, whatever it is. Like, you know, in life, you're going to have conflict with people. And the sooner you embrace it and you become accustomed to healthy conflict, it's going to fucking put you miles ahead. Miles ahead.
Wow.
That's all I got, brother. It's kind of a short episode.
Short and sweet.
18 minutes. You got anything else?
Nah, you killed this one, so
I appreciate that, bro. You get one Modelo in me. That's why you don't want to see me with two.
just give him a cerveza.
Give me a cerveza. We appreciate you guys listening at JACXB More at Ryan Ramirez Official. Got a lot of good shit on the way. Peace out.
What's in your mind for you and for I? I'm trying to decide when I look in your eyes, I made my signs, but your feelings inside you. I'm messing up my mind and my spirit, babe.